welcome Fabian to the first ever Hitchr Instagram Live. I was slightly terrified at that moment. I thought it was all going to fall apart.
Uh,
But you're here. How are you
I'm
doing?
it. Actually, I'm quite well.
Good, good, good.
Yeah, I before I came here, I had a short interview about man's work and cacao with another man from a bit more far, and yeah, now it's a short slide to a good yeah, to a good conversation, to an exchange. By the
Awesome.
way, yeah.
So why don't we start? I gave a probably a not very good introduction before, but why don't we start by introducing? Oh, by the way, I'm Adam in case anyone doesn't know, which probably most of you don't know, to be honest. So I'm Adam. I'm one of the co-founders of Hitchr. Um, But Fabian, why don't you start by introducing yourself, telling us a little bit about your who you are, what you stand for, and what your hitchhiking journey looks like so far, what your experience is.
So first, thank you very much for the invitation and also for the introduction. I think it was fine. So nothing was missing. So, and it isn't about being perfect. So, actually, I think my first experience when we had a conversation, I told you my first experience was at at a school for body therapy and also for trainings for physiotherapy. And I, yeah, sometimes when I had conversations with people, we talk so much about things that could get worse or bad. And some guy at this school, when I was there for my internship, for the training as a physiotherapist, then he asked me just randomly, "Have you ever been travel as a hitchhiker?" And in that time, I didn't really had an idea of it. And then he just explained a bit the story behind it and also the opportunities within. So after that, when I made my first hitchhiking experience, he just named a few spots to me, and for now, actually, you're I can't see you. I don't know why, but
I'm here.
okay, yeah. um, and I think what gets me the most then when I had my first experience as a hitchhiker was this getting out of my comfort zone, getting out of my being kind of afraid of being in something unknown, which I haven't been, something that I don't know, that always brings a feeling of maybe I don't feel well because I haven't been doing it or so. And when you stand there on the street just with thumbs up, then you make this, you will make this experience by maybe you will feel feelings that you don't like. So at first you have to stay in a situation where something doesn't work so well sometimes, where some people will just shake their hands out of the window or smile. And so you start to realize the only point that is important in the moment is that you have to know you will get to the point where you wanted to go, but you don't know when. And this was yeah, I would say the first experience I found the most important when it's about developing my own fears. And I guess the longest time what I had to wait was just 10 hours. This was, I guess, the worst experience with hitchhiking, but I would say it was just the interest in doing something new and try to get out of my comfort zone. This was the main reason, just for short, getting out of my comfort zone. Let's see what will happen. And yeah, and
Can you describe maybe what happened the first time you tried to hitchhike?
yeah,
What was that first experience like? What was going through your mind? What was going through your feelings?
uh, it was just when I had a board and a pencil, and I also had a note so that I knew where to start and where where to leave the car and then go to the next point to start. Um, I actually was very relaxed at first because the sun was shining. That's a very good thing. The sun was shining, and also the other thing that was a bit uncomfortable was to when you go to the people, mainly on the gas stations, because there are always cars and people around who have place in their car or who have space. This was the first, also at the first hitchhiking experience. I didn't know what to say. Actually, I didn't know. I just thought about it, and then he just wrote a sentence for me for beginners. And I started to get in contact and started to speak more freely to the people. I have to go to that place. Could you help me? So, and this is a really important thing when you don't just say, can you just pick me up? I have to go to some place. I have to move to that place. Then I just maybe just say, okay, then why you don't take a train or what else? But if you bring to the people that they will help you with picking you up, then they very often, and also in that situation, they become very interested because they always, and also in that first situation, they always said, okay, why not? Yeah, okay, just wait a minute, I will come back and just pay for the gas and yeah, it's a bit far away to remember, but it's they picked me up, and I think it was the longest ride from point A to the end. I think 4 hours. They took me up and they drove me 4 hours for the first time. And this is a really good experience when you get that ride so far. Sometimes it's not that good, but yeah, this was my first experience, and we had a great conversation, and we talked about our life experience, about family, about why should people hitchhike more, and yeah. So this was my first hitchhiking experience between in Germany. in Germany. Um, so yeah.
Where were you going on that trip? Or where were you trying to get to?
I were on the way home from Heidelberg to Wuppertal, which is close to Cologne. So, and yeah, most people know Cologne. And this was the way.
It's interesting. I was wondering if there's so when I hitchhike, I find it a lot more comfortable, I guess, to stand in the road and wait for cars to stop because it feels to me like um, they're more proactively deciding to pick up a hitchhiker. But the most successful times, the kind of the easiest way to hitchhike in terms of times, I find is to, like as you've described, to go up to people in the gas stations. Some people call it active hitchhiking. Um, and I'm always intrigued by the kind of it's a very different mentality to one is stand up and wait for people to help you. The other is actually approach people and be in charge of your own destiny a bit more. I wonder if go on.
I see that, yeah. Sometimes when people don't pick me up, even when I have a sign for the next point, maybe for when I wait for an hour, and I might decide, okay, I've been waiting for an hour, just straight in at the street with my sign, just being there and hey, can you pick me up? And just smiling and maybe getting a bit tired, then the next step would be to just visit the gas station. So, but yeah, if it's possible, I prefer just to stand in the street and just be straight. That the people know, okay, the sign is that city, and I will go there. I will drive you there or not. This is a bit more easy. You don't have to talk much. In that way, it's easier. So more cars, more opportunities. Um, but if there is no, no street, if there's just a gas station, um, then gas station. So the thing is that you have to present yourself. And if you're in a bad mood, sometimes this happens, then it might not work just to stand there. Then the people will see, okay, he's not really in the mood. I don't know. Will not picking up. And yeah.
I'm interested. Do you have a particularly memorable moment in your time hitchhiking that really sticks in your mind? Um, or is there anything that really shifted your perspective on people or on the world that you've learned through hitchhiking that really sticks in your mind?
Yeah, I think hmm, the main shifting situations were always when people who actually picked me up just asked me the question. It wasn't really a question, I could say, but asked me, "Oh, isn't this dangerous?" So, but they were the people who gave me the ride. They asked me the question, and then I I would say this is really something that stays into my mind, or this is something that sometimes really the opposite. They say something, but they do the exact opposite. So they they don't really see sometimes what they do. So they do something good, but I say, oh, it can happen something bad. So and they do the exact opposite. So this is something maybe a psychological phenomenon because they heard something by that, but they act different. And this is something that happens when you hitchhike sometimes. The people act different. People don't act as people say they would act sometimes, or as people say people act as a car driver who haven't been hitchhiking ever in their life. They're always maybe the bad things that happen, they are smoking, or maybe they will just let you out at the street, or they will ask you questions you don't want to answer. But I think the most important that I've learned is you always have the opportunity to say no or yes. You always can choose. You can make a few steps before you hitchhike, and it reminds me of my self-confidence. So, yeah, I think that's the main thing I've learned. It's my self-confidence.
And I think that's one of the most important kind of safety tips whilst hitchhiking. Is most people are good people. Most people are going to help you and are going to be nice to you, but you always have that option to say no. You don't have to get into the car just because they stop for you. Um, and just by trusting, I think someone said it in the chat, just by trusting your gut, sometimes you might be a bit overzealous in one direction or the other. But by trusting your gut and saying no if you feel at all uncomfortable, then it's one of the most important ways to keep you safe and comfortable whilst on the road. I wanted to dive a bit deeper into your kind of the mission of your podcast. I think when you first reached out to me, um, you said this phrase that stuck in my head, which is hitchhiking. Well, I say it stuck in my head. I've got it written down. But it's hitchhiking is great for human health. And your podcast and your whole sort of mission is around human health and creating a better world for everyone. Um, how do you see hitchhiking as being contributory to good human health? And what do you mean by human health, I guess, if I go a bit deeper?
Yeah, that's a very good question. We should ask that question more to ourselves sometimes. I guess it's really that hits the mark. So at first, I would say this is obviously my third podcast, and I have been made experience before, and actually will be also in English, not just in German, like you said before. But I haven't been said that, so it's fine. Everything it's fine. Hitchhiking and health, human health. I think the podcast Human Nature is about when it gets to the question, what makes us healthy? What do we need to stay healthy in our lives? So it's more like a systemic way from different perspectives. Either it's work, is it where you live, is it what you do, and so. And for me, actually, from the perspective of what an impact does it have when you have people around you who are open and who are friendly, and what is the effect of people around you who are open-minded? And it does very often we don't really realize what an effect it has when we are in different states, when we are in stress, and when we are in societies when people don't see us and don't help us. But there are studies, and they're very old actually. It's nothing new when you say that stress or being unseen, uh, they name it actually as something like a social diet. So we have so many people around us, but we are not really in contact. Everybody is okay. It's maybe a bit too much, but just to show up with the idea of it. Most people are More people you have in a city doesn't mean that there is more contact between elves. It just means we have much mobile phones, we have much opportunities to not be in contact, to just be with us alone. And hitchhiking is different, because if you wouldn't open up, if you wouldn't show up to the people, then they wouldn't pick you up. So, and I would say if stress is something that is 10 times worse than smoking, then how would it, I would say, prevent our stress level to make, when we make experience, when people show up to us, and when you make friends also. Yeah, so we need all that. We need this social interaction, and this is the point of view I meant. The social interaction, becoming friends, getting support sometimes. When I made hitchhiking to different areas, now I could say, okay, I will just leave my home. I will quit my job when I'm tired, or what else, I don't want to do this anymore. I just could reach out for the people actually, and I've met them as a hitchhiker. And I think that's something that very often is misunderrated, because guess what? It's not just someone who takes you for a ride and says, okay, fuck off. I just took you for a ride. I'm not really interested in humans and in your history. So, or in your story. Why hitchhiking? Yeah. So that's something I would just say. And yeah, that's just one point of view. There's also, we share resources, cars, gas.
And we're not, it really shows that we're not just, one of the things you said was, when you're hitchhiking, you're not just getting in the car with, you're not just getting a lift from someone, you're meeting someone new, you're learning, even if it's just a very brief encounter, you're getting a glimpse into someone else's life, you're learning about maybe a different culture or different ways of doing things. And you're just starting to open your mind beyond maybe the things that you're used to on your day to day. I totally get it, and I think it's so interesting about to look at it as a way to expand and enhance your own human health, and also humanity's health on a wider scale.
Yeah, and I think it also shows up how people actually really act in society. When I'm here at my living area, and I try to hitchhike to maybe to the next bus station or to the train station. By car, it's just 5 minutes. So, and hardly ever, just the students from school, they pick me up. And I sometimes have to wait half an hour. And this also shows, yeah, maybe just that it's not really common there. Nothing else. It just says maybe it's not really common and people don't like it. But then in the other way, there are young people, they don't care. They just know me a bit. They just have seen me at the campus. Ah, okay, maybe I knew him, and I've seen him, and so I will just picking up, and um, yeah, that's also the interesting experience part of hitchhiking, and it becomes much more polite or political when you have people around you. I had that conversation at Monday when someone from uh, the Ukraine said, or no, it was a father, and he had people. He himself came from the Ukraine when he was very young, when he was a child, and actually there is war. And then the daughter said, "Okay, it might be not safe to be there." And I just asked the question: is it really true that it is really unsafe to go there for holiday or whatever, or just to visit the Ukraine? And so they stopped for a moment when I said, there is always a way to visit another country. It's not the whole area. It's not the whole area. When you say, okay, we have war, then it's bad, of course, but it's not everywhere. And as a hitchhiker, also, I I haven't made this experience, but I knew people from being around, also from Gaza and somewhere else. They visit their own country as a hitchhiker sometimes, even if there is war in some areas. So it's crazy when you talk about that, what it's true and what is the reality. So it's also kind of reality check. Hitchhiking is also a reality check, how people are actually really are, and yeah.
It's very rare, or it can be very rare and uncommon to actually meet local people in local scenarios. So if you go on holiday somewhere as a kind of a typical tourist, you might firstly you might only encounter other tourists or people working within the tourism sector. Hitchhiking is one of those. It's kind of a cheat code to meet someone that's just going about their daily life, or is part of the um, part of the culture or the population there, and can actually tell you what's really going on and how they really see the world from their point of view.
I think for me, it's the opportunity to learn or to show your nervous system to start being more relaxed when you visit some other places you don't know, so that you can learn to trust more, being with maybe being around with less, just with a bag and the idea of something.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So
I'm,
yeah.
yeah, I'm looking through we haven't actually had any questions in the comments yet. So if you're watching and you have a question for Fabia or for me even, and want to drop them in the comments about hitchhiking. Maybe you're new to hitchhiking and you've never hitchhiked before and you want to learn a bit more. Um, jump in and just put them in the comments, and I'll pick out the interesting ones. Um, we've got a few minutes left though, Fabian. Was there anything else about your experience hitchhiking or beyond that you wanted to talk about or to mention, or anything you wanted to ask me about Hitcher or hitchhiking?
I think in my point of view, it's, yeah, I think I've been said everything about hitchhiking. I think the essence for me, why hitchhiking is is so important. Yeah, is to learn again, to learn more, to get out of your comfort zone and to learn about getting in contact with yourself, with your comfort zones and your inner growth, and take this chance to grow with these experience in person, because this is a social skill. We need that communication and trust to be in a more open society. And you can take this with you in yeah, daily life. I think that's most important message. So they are just people, all the people, even you and me, even Elon Musk, even whatever, they're all just humans. So it's maybe very, yeah, okay, they're rich, but yeah, of course, they have started somewhere. And I think we just need to become more aware of that. We have so many opportunities to get in contact with other people and to reach out to them, to reach out for help, maybe to reach out for contact. That's
And I
it.
think, and I think that's a really, really powerful message, and to me sums up firstly why I hitchhike, but also I why I why I why I think it's quite challenging that other people are scared of hitchhiking, because ultimately anyone that you could get in a car with is just another person. And sure, there are some bad people out there, but most of the people are just like you, and they're good people that just want to help you and to meet new people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. I think my question maybe to you is when was the point when you had the idea to start with Hitchr? Because there were already some databases, I guess, or very similar, but when when did it happen? Where yeah, where is the idea from? So
Yeah, it's a difficult one to answer precisely, because I could say it started at a bunch of different places, but um, I started hitchhiking maybe two or 3 years ago, and it probably started around there. And I think my mind went from um, a place probably very similar to where most of the world's mind is at, which is hitchhiking as a kind of scary thing that people don't really do anymore. And then the first time I hitched, I was like, why is this the case? Why does no one hitch anymore? Why is it scary and stigmatized to most of the world? And from that, it grew into this idea of okay, why do most people not hitchhike? And what can I do as an engineer to help people hitchhike? And to encourage more people to hitchhike, because it's currently quite a sort of fringe community, and there are tools in there to support people already hitchhiking. But what I want to do with Hitchr, and what we totally aim to do with Hitchr, is to turn it into a tool that can open the rest of the world up to hitchhiking. Um, and we're doing that through two means, right? One of them is just telling people stories like what we're doing now, like what we're doing on Instagram and TikTok to a lesser extent. We're just bringing all of the hitchhiking stories that we can find together and retelling them so that more of the world sees them. Um, and then the other half is through the app that we're building, which is aiming to bring all the hitchhikers together again, but also bring more hitchhikers on board and into the story. Um, so when you say where did hitchhike sorry when you say when you ask where did the idea for Hitchr come from, it really comes from this mission to take hitchhiking from this kind of relatively small fringe activity that most people don't do, to a much more accessible means of travel and means of getting around, so that the people that are scared and feel stigmatized about hitchhiking um, can actually have something they can latch onto and give it a go, learn about how to do it properly, and feel safe and secure in doing so. We've just had one question from Joe Fred, which is a question we get a lot. Hello, is there a release date for a future update to keep an eye out for? Don't have an official one yet because we're working on it, but we are aiming to get the app out by the end of the year to the public. The one thing I would say is if you're keen to test it, and I know Fabian's had a bit of a go on the app in the last few weeks. If you're hitchhiking and you're keen to join our group of testers, then drop me a message, because we are on a kind of individual basis sharing it with people so that you can actually help us get it out there. But thanks for the question, Joe. The other thing I'd say is make sure you're on our waiting list. There's a link in our bio so that you can sign up and get the latest updates when we have them, and you'll see when it's released and when we've got other things to announce before that. But yeah, great question. I think that's just about time there, Fabian. But look, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I hope that the people that have tuned in have. We do have another already. We've got another Instagram live lined up for next week. So keep an eye out over the next couple of days for who that's going to be. Another really interesting guest who will have a totally different perspective to what Fabian's described. But that's exactly the reason that we're doing it. Fabian, just before we leave, do you want to give a shout out to your to yourself and to your podcast? Where can people find you? What should people do if they want to hear more about what you stand for?
Yeah, first I would say I love that conversation. I really was calm and I felt very comfortable with the dialogue, and that leads us to my actually I would say a work, or my the idea of my work that is not just with the podcast. The podcast is human nature. I will also, I guess, I might leave that in the comments. Like I said, it will be also in English, not just in German, which will be more with people from somatic health, which we had here in our conversation. What is the soma? What does it need to stay healthy? So from the perspective of biohacking, which is a topic, and also as a becoming physiotherapist, this might be a field more and more. But in the future also, how do we create a healthy society, also from the perspective of permaculture thinking, which is not just gardening. And actually, my topics are human health with movement, with nutrition, and also with somatic resources. So, and this is something I do. You can just get in contact with me on Instagram. I think this is the most easy way, because it's also kind of pilot project, more a no-brainer sometimes. I don't want it to make it so complicated. In the last week we were on the Psychedelica Summit, the biggest one in Germany, where we had cacao and health as a topic, and where we had therapists and also some very interesting talk about plant medicine, body health, and therapy. So yeah, I think that's all. And it was nice to have all of you here, and also you, Adam. Thanks for the opportunity. I think this project is really a hard work. Like, it's hard, but it's also from the heart. and I appreciate that. I think it's so important. So stay tuned and support Adam.
Great. Well,
Yeah.
look, thanks again. And fine, I'll close off, but thanks again, Fabian, for your time. It's been super interesting. I hope everyone that's watched has enjoyed it. Apologies to the people that have just joined this second because I'm gonna close off the stream soon. But thanks a lot, and have a great day, and tune in next week.
See you.
Great.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Das war eine Folge aus dem Podcast Human Nature. Hat dir diese Podcast-Folge gefallen? Freue ich mich über eine Bewertung. Und natürlich kannst du diesen Podcast auch abonnieren und bleibst somit immer auf dem neuesten Stand. Bis dahin, entdecke deine eigene Natur.